It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Video 112. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters. How y'all doing out there, man? Man, check it out, man. This is that time of the year where I live, bro. This is that time of the year where the weather be crazy as fuck. Like in the daytime, it be hot to the point where you gotta cut your air on. But then at night, it gets so damn cool till it make you want to cut your heat on. And it just make people sick around here. And I'm one of them right now. Like, I got a little something going on inside me, man. My throat itching. My damn nose a little stuffy and runny, man. It's just what that... Excuse me, Steve. What I'm talking about? That right there. It's just that time of the year, man, where a lot of people get sick. So y'all just, try to stay as healthy as you can. And try to stay safe. And try not to be having to cut the air on in the daytime, then cut the heat on at night. That's where you get fucked up at. And that's where I may have fucked up at. But I digress. We finna get into the video, man. And we're gonna go back to a dude. I said he was A tier, but I'm ready to put him up there S tier with Mike from that chapter and our boy Mr. Baller. And that man is Coffeehouse Crime. Coffeehouse Crime, y'all. I'm really starting to love him, really starting to fuck with him hard, man. The title of this video is Buried Alive by an Ex-Partner. The case of Brandy Rosine. Buried alive, bro. That's like one of the oh man, that's a horrible nightmare that I just don't want to have. I don't know if I ever had a nightmare of being buried alive, but it's just one of those visions in your head that you just be like, oh my God, that would be horrible. I digress, man. We finna go and get into it, my people. But before we get into it, y'all know y'all got to get whatever you may need. Get what you need for the store so we can listen to Mr. Coffeehouse do his thing, man. Y'all ready to listen to him? Then let's fucking do it.
In May of 2012, Brandy Stevens Rosine made the secret journey to an ex-partner and friend. The journey made her feel uneasy, and in the back of her mind, she felt something was about to go terribly wrong. She therefore decided to text a friend, sharing the address that she was traveling to before continuing with her journey. But very shortly after arriving, Brandy disappeared. What happened to Miss Rosine? Why did she feel uneasy? And who exactly was she planning to meet? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, folks. My name is Adrian, and welcome back to another video by Coffeehouse Crime. Today we're looking at the case of Brandy Stevens Rosine. Before we begin, and just to let you know, that I post true crime and strange cases here weekly, so if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing for more videos.
Subscribe.
Now, with that said, please take a seat and grab yourself a coffee. This is the case of Brandy Stevens Rosine.
Get whatever you may need. And real quick, y'all, it sounds like this gonna be a story like, well, you should have went with your first mind. You should have went, you know what I'm saying? With that first thought, that's what she should have went with. Hey. Sometimes we have second thoughts, man, and sometimes we just don't know what's right or wrong. But let's see how it turned out.
Here's another case that brings us to America, and this one begins in the Midwestern state of Ohio. With a population of 12 million residents, the Buckeye State is a place well traveled. Initially home to several indigenous nations, the land that is now Ohio saw many wars and epidemics through the 17th century. But by 1803, its boundaries and constitutions had been signed, and moving forward, Ohio served as a state for heavy manufacturing in the 20th century. Many things have changed since then, and nowadays, the Buckeye State is well known for its sports, food, and of course, Buckeyes. And a random side note, but it took me 29 years to realize that Buckeye is the American word for conker. Sure, it may be a little more complicated than that, as there are slight differences between its species, but for all of you Brits out there, the two are basically the same thing. Dense population and conkers aside, but Ohio is bountiful when it comes to nature, with plenty of parks, forests, farms, and old country roads to explore. Found very close to the eastern border of Ohio lies a small town called Youngstown. It's nestled deep between several state parks and forests, and with a small population of 60,000, not much really goes on here. Being honest with you, but Youngstown has seen better days. Back in the 1930s, the city had a population triple of what it is now. This was mainly thanks to its massive investment in furnaces and foundries. But due to a lack of economic diversification, it lost out to other competing cities in the area. As a result, the local economy collapsed, and nowadays it's a sleepy city, mainly ideal for families looking for a quiet lifestyle. Nevertheless, this is where we meet Brandy Rosine Stevens and her family. Brandy was born on November 30th, 1992, to her mother Carrie and father Michael. She was very close to her family while growing up, spending much time with her parents, sister and broader family. Brandy was an average young girl. She was a happy-go-lucky kid who enjoyed riding go-karts with her friends, liked to sing and listen to music, had a knack for writing, and loved cats. Her passion for music led her down an academically musical path, and before joining Boardman High School, she had found her place in an orchestra group as an upright bass player. Playing the electric bass at home and jamming with her friends on weekends attracted other creative individuals around her, and together they would sing, listen to rap and country music, and go on long walks. Brandy was also part of the teen advisory board for the Boardman School Library, and served on the staff of the Bugle, the high school's newspaper. And although Brandy was a little quirky, it's clear that she was both genuine and creative. Moving into her late teenage years, Brandy found her calling in people. She genuinely cared about those around her, and gravitated toward people going through rough times. She was a terrific listener too, and had a great way of advising those in need. And to add to this, she had a distinct interest in understanding human behaviour. With this in mind, Brandy decided that she would make a positive impact on society by professionally helping those who need support. And after graduating from Boardman High School, she enrolled at Youngstown State University to study psychology and sociology. Just like most of us, but Brandy was coping with her own struggles in life. She had diabetes, which meant she had to watch her blood sugar levels closely. And to add to this, but being a woman who was interested in other women came with its fair share of prejudice from others. But otherwise, Brandy was happy. With a loving family, great friends, and a strong career in progress, everything was moving in the right direction. Brandy had worked through multiple relationships through her late teenage years, but as with most of us, she had not yet found the right one. Saying that, she had kept in contact with one of her recent partners, who had recently moved away to Pennsylvania. The young woman's name was Jade Olmsted. Jade and Brandy...
Hey, goddamn, y'all, excuse me. Hey, that picture right there, she don't look like she's such a good person, do it? Do y'all sense a little demonic type energy coming from that picture? I'm just saying, man, maybe she tried to take you looking that way, but she looked crazy as hell. Let's go.
Had previously met online, and after a short while of getting to know one another, they grew close. Shortly after this, and immediately after leaving high school, the two dated for several months. Although Brandy came from a loving and nurturing home, it wasn't the same story for Jade. Her parents were very religious, and when they learned of her sexuality, they were furious. Instead of allowing her to be whom she wanted to be, they thought they could force their daughter to be straight, which obviously caused problems between Jade and her parents. This may actually be why Jade latched on to Brandy, because Brandy, being the thoughtful and kind woman that she was, accepted Jade for precisely who she was too. Unfortunately, Jade took advantage of this. She barely did any work, put no effort into the relationship, and eventually broke up with Brandy. But only after she stole money and an iPod from Brandy's house before fleeing home.
Wow.
Their relationship was complicated at best, and over the following months, Jade and Brandy were on and off with their relationship. Where on some weeks they'd be cutting all forms of communication, on other ones they would be rekindling again. This was made further complicated by Jade's former girlfriend Ashley, and although the two had called things off before Brandy entered the scene, they started to date once more. Ashley was a very tough cookie. She
A fucking love triangle. A fucking love triangle.
was described as aggressive, cold, and narcissistic. And where both Jade and Brandy had low self-esteem and issues with their confidence, Ashley was very brash. Probably no surprise to you, but this had caused issues with Jade's parents. Jade once lied to Ashley, saying that her parents were abusing her. And Ashley responded by barging into Jade's home and threatening her own parents, a confrontation that ended with police being called to the property. No charges were pressed, but obviously it caused a great ruckus between Jade, Ashley, and Jade's parents. After Ashley was removed from Jade's home, the two temporarily stopped talking to each other, and shortly after this, that's when Brandy entered the scene. Living near Cochranton of Pennsylvania, Ashley's parents' home was located about 80 miles from Youngstown, short enough to make a trip if needed. She was very comfortable with her identity, and often referred to herself as a butch. She also made videos on YouTube, sharing her favourite pickup lines that, quote, butches say to femmes.
Hey guys, this is AJ's System. So I decided to make a video about things butches say to femmes because I realized I couldn't find one online. And I think they're the funniest, so let's get started on that. Can I get your digits, or do I just carry you home? Your eyes match my shirt. I'm not a player. I just date a lot, I swear. So, do you drink? Oh, no, me neither. I just, you know, I have an ex like that, man. She's a crazy bitch. You remind me of somebody, oh no, I mean just a friend, you know.
What?
I'm not drunk. I'm just not ready to leave, man. I know you're into me. I mean, what if I put on a beard and a hat? I mean, you would like it, right? You ain't straight. You gotta stay away from that shit. Only the real ones. Real. Stay cool.
Now, cringy video.
He said cringe right there. I don't know what to say for excuse me again. I don't know what to say for them pickup lines, y'all. Like, I don't know. I don't think that'll work on too many females out here. Any of them pickup lines. But yeah, that's crazy. I was gonna say something else I forgot. So let's just fucking go.
Videos aside, but by April of 2012, both Jade and Ashley were back together again. However, there was one problem. Jade was looking to move back to Baltimore. So, in an effort to keep her, Ashley convinced her parents to move in with them in Pennsylvania. And although the two could now live together without any complications of distance in the way, there was actually still one more problem. Brandy was still messaging Jade, primarily because she wanted to look out for a friend, but this was something that Ashley could not stand. In fact, she was jealous and furious about it. If Jade was serious about her relationship, then she would have to stop messaging Brandy. And even worse, Brandy would have to learn her lesson.
I remember what I was gonna say now, bro. Ashley, she refers to herself as a butch. I don't know where y'all from, what y'all call it, but I think it's the same thing as what we refer to around here as studs. She's a stud. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think. I think it's the same thing. I never heard of butch though. I gotta look that up to see if it's the same terminology, but I think it is. And also, bro, Brandy, you should stop texting Jade too. You talking about you want to make sure she's straight and shit, but I think it go hand in hand. You should stop texting her. Jade should stop texting you if you with Ashley. And it's simple as that, bro. It's simple as that. But something to get fucked up.
May 17th, 2012. It was a Thursday and relatively warm for Ohio at this time of year. Brandy was off for the day and therefore decided to make plans with free time on her hands. Good timing. Despite not yet meeting Ashley, but Jade invited her to hang out at Ashley's place in Pennsylvania. And despite previously giving her the cold shoulder, the two were supposedly very excited to meet up with Brandy. With everything that had happened with Jade in the past, Brandy didn't feel comfortable telling her family that that was where she was going. And although she had told her grandmother that she was seeing her friend Rhiannon, that was just a cover-up. Ashley's home was around 80 miles away from Brandy, so it would take her around an hour and a half to make the drive. But something in the back of Brandy's mind was telling her not to go. There was a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. Due to her diabetes, she stopped halfway through the journey to grab lunch. And while at a local Subway, she messaged a friend to say that she felt uneasy about meeting Ashley and Jade. She therefore decided to share the address that she was travelling to just to be on the safe side. Putting her phone back in her pocket, Brandy returned to her vehicle and continued with her journey. With Cochranton being less than an hour away, she wouldn't have to stop again. With that said, and after this point, Brandy's friend could only assume that she had made the journey. Because after this final text message, that would be the last time she would ever hear from her again.
Sad.
As the hours passed, Brandy's grandmother grew curious about where she was. At first, it was just a small nagging feeling, but suspicion turned into worry when she messaged Brandy to receive no response, and by sunset, she had become increasingly concerned. Brandy hadn't taken her diabetic medication with her, which suggested she planned to be back home relatively soon, and without her insulin readily available, she was at risk of diabetic ketoacidosis. Calling her mobile phone yielded no response, and in fact, all calls went straight through to voicemail. And after confronting Carrie about her missing daughter, their worry had come to a boiling point. Nobody had heard from Brandy, and although she was an adult, independent and free to do what she wished, her family were able to file a missing persons report due to her diabetic condition. Come Friday morning, it was all too obvious that something bad had happened to Brandy. She was nowhere to be seen and had made no contact with anyone. As officers geared up to launch an official investigation, family and friends were doing their own part to find and follow any clues they could find. For one, friends began to search around the address she had left behind in her final message, but being in such a remote area, they got lost without ever finding Ashley's home. To add to this, Brandy's phone was also found to have pinged from a cell tower near Linden Street in Meadville. However, no fresh clues came to light after handing out leaflets to all nearby houses. As time goes by, pressure mounts up, and eventually, Brandy's friend told Carrie about her daughter's last known location. And after 4 days of silence and no clues, Carrie and several of Brandy's friends made the drive to Ashley's home. Shortly after arriving, Jade, Ashley, and Ashley's father appeared at the front door. They confronted Carrie and Brandy's friends, where Jade and Ashley claimed that they had never met up with Brandy, that she turned around before she arrived, and that they were busy in the local hospital during that time. But this only led to further suspicion. It was then that they realised that Ashley had several bruises and bandages on her arms. And after being asked what happened, Ashley claimed that she had fallen down the basement stairs.
Bro, it's fucked up that they denying it. But you heard when he said that Ashley daddy was there too? I hope her daddy don't know that she did some fucked up shit, committed a fucked up crime, murdered somebody, and trying to cover it up with her. Cause that I don't like that, bro. Even if you a parent, man, and that's your child, bro. If you know your child committed murder, you should be the first one on the phone calling the police. So I hope that ain't the case. Maybe he don't know. Maybe he really just clueless. But let's go.
Requested to leave their property immediately, Carrie turned to authorities to ask for help. And as soon as officers knew of Brandy's last recorded address and Ashley's bruises, they called on them for questioning. Officers were met with the exact same behaviour and statements as Carrie. The pair supposedly never saw Brandy and were busy doing their own thing. And unfortunately, with nothing incriminating or substantial and all merely suspicious, the girls were released with no further questions asked. Now, they may have felt that they were finally off the hook. However, despite their slippery exit, a very damning clue would present itself the very next day.
What is that?
Come morning came a very concerning phone call to authorities, and the sender was no one other than Ashley's mother. She had called to inform them that someone had parked their car in the family garage, but no one knew whom the vehicle belonged to. The car was confirmed to be a Kia Rio, which was the same make and model as Brandy's. What's worse, a run through Ohio's license plate system confirmed it to be hers.
Bro, they can't be that damn stupid. You gonna leave the fucking car in the garage? I'm glad they did it so they can go and get caught, you know what I'm saying? But god damn, man, how fucking dumb can you be, bro?
There was one non-conforming detail, however. Where the inside of Brandy's vehicle was notorious for being messy, it was now spotless. The car appeared to have been gutted and cleaned, but nobody knew why. The information provided to police was concerning at best, and by the time they got to the vehicle came a whole new level of suspicion, as Jade and Ashley were now nowhere to be found. Packing their essentials into 2 rucksacks, the pair fled the home in the middle of the night. Whether they were guilty or otherwise remained to be determined, but this certainly was not helping their case. Within the hour, a notice for their arrest was distributed amongst local officers, who kept an eye out on the local town and surrounding neighbourhoods. But unfortunately, at least for the first few hours, no dice. The girls were nowhere to be found. Thankfully, and by pure luck, an officer spotted them several hours later as they got into a car, which was ready and set to flee the state. The officer, returning home from work at the time, had been made aware of their descriptions while at work. And so, once again, both women were taken down to the local police department and questioned about Brandy's disappearance. And with Brandy's car in their garage, officers now had a direct connection.
Yep.
Jade and Ashley were separated for questioning, where they then both gave slightly different accounts of what had happened. So, according to Ashley, Brandy had now arrived to play video games, but after receiving a phone call from her supposed new girlfriend, she left them to meet with her instead. I mean, you tell me if this sounds believable or not, but Ashley claimed that she collected her belongings from her car and then walked off into the distance alone on foot.
Nah.
Now, mind you, this was in the middle of nowhere, so where the hell would she be going? Shortly after realizing this wouldn't sail with the officers, she changed her story yet again, but this one held a much more sinister demise. Now, apparently, while all three women were in the woods nearby, Ashley's father noticed Brandy's car on the driveway, and he became enraged. He was allegedly angry to see a lesbian with his daughter, thus sparking a fight between him and Brandy. He then struck her across the head with a shovel. But this story was, of course, bullshit, and while Ashley gave her third account of events, authorities were coming across an alarming scene. Found 300 meters north of the property, officers found a freshly unearthed area surrounded by woodland. Branches were placed to form a new perimeter, and the wet dirt suggested a hole had been recently dug.
Bro, that shit looks so obvious. Like, these some dumb ass fucking killers, bro. They fucking buried this damn girl. But it's like they trying to get caught, bro. You leave the damn car in the garage. Look at that scene, bro. It looked like that's where somebody buried it. Why they got all those sticks surrounding it and shit? Let's go.
Unfortunately, digging deeper confirmed everyone's greatest fears. Found underneath was the body of Brandy Stevens. She had
And then it was close as hell to their house. 300 meters from the house? Come on, man.
been savagely beaten, almost beyond recognition.
Damn.
Her family were notified almost immediately, and so began a new chapter to their nightmare. What followed next was a long and horrible confession from Ashley and Jade. And after learning that Brandy's body had been found, both women buckled under the pressure. The two confirmed that Brandy had been lured to their place so they could murder her. Ashley was
Why?
incomprehensibly jealous of her connection with Jade, and Jade wanted to prove that her love for Brandy was over. It's through their confession that the true horrors of what had happened to Brandy finally came to light. Jade had asked her if she'd like to go and hang out for the day, inviting her over to meet Ashley and check out the fort they were building. And after winding her way through a maze of roads that led her deep into Crawford County's woods, Brandy drove through acres of isolated back hills, sliced into haphazard sections by dusty dirt roads. Thick canopies of trees covered portions of the road, with the piercing sun casting spooky shadows onto the landscape. Once Brandy had arrived and parked her car, Jade lured her down a wooded path towards the fort, and after passing their checkpoint, Ashley ambushed her from behind the trees. Brandy was punched several times across the face, her nose breaking in the process. And after being forced onto the ground, Ashley beat her head against a tree stump. Brandy screamed for help, telling Jade to please stop. She told them that she told others where she was, and that she wouldn't tell anyone if they just let her go. Jade grabbed a shovel before striking it over Brandy's head several times. And in this moment, she accidentally hit Ashley, bruising her arm in the process.
That way it came
Sadly,
from.
the worst was yet to come, and several more awful actions followed over the following minutes. Brandy was choked with a rope, hit in the head with a boulder, and waterboarded with a bottle of water. She was then rolled into her grave, and while still breathing, she was then buried alive.
Fucked up, bro. Fucked up, bro.
Brandy's autopsy report concluded she had suffered blunt force trauma, a skull fracture, and 15 lacerations to her scalp, but
Shit.
ultimately, the death was caused from suffocation from dirt in her airway.
Oh,
She also
man.
had several facial contusions, a hemorrhage in her brain, several broken ribs, and her body was covered in lacerations and bruises. To add to this horrific crime scene, authorities also found several letters that Ashley and Jade had wrote, which were pinned on trees around her grave. One of these
That's just another prime example, bro. They leaving letters around a grave and what the fuck, then? Why in the hell, bro? I mean, it's not right to kill anybody anyway. We all know that, my people. But I'm just saying, why they had to do it so? Why they had to beat her to death like that? Cause that much trauma and pain to her. Why y'all could have just shot her in the head or, you know what I'm saying, stabbed her or something? Even though that shit fucked up too. But it's like they wanted to make her suffer, bro. Then they wanted to leave clues. These some dumbass bitches. Let's go.
These letters said, "I murdered your 20-year-old mistake. This person did not deserve to have a life. Do I feel guilty? No, not an ounce. I feel proud." The awful letters didn't end there. After confessing to their crimes, Jade and Ashley were obviously arraigned on charges of criminal homicide, conspiracy, and tampering with physical evidence. Just after this, Ashley wrote back to her distraught parents to say, "Mum and Dad, I hope this reaches you. We were here until about 3-ish. The pigs are slow, eh? I'm sorry to involve you in this. You're not going to see me for a while, but you will always be on my mind. I love you. This is nothing that you did. This was on my mind for a long time. I got my shot and I ran with it. Guess I've always been fucked up. This won't be my last, and it was not my first. We just fucked up on how obvious this was. This is my life now, and I'm gonna get to see the world. I wish you well. I love you, Ashley Barber." And P.S. Tell the pigs they are wasting their time.
Really?
What Ashley meant by "not her first time" can only be assumed to mean murder. But despite her childish taunts, no information or evidence has ever suggested a second victim. The legal proceedings for this case were pretty cut and dried. To begin with, both were jailed without bond and were charged with first-degree murder. But apparently, even after her gruesome letter, Ashley's parents still couldn't believe that she murdered Brandy Stevens. They referred to her as a humanitarian and a good person. So I guess now is a good time to remind you that love can definitely be blind, especially when a monster is involved. It was initially argued that Ashley was not mentally competent to stand trial. A psychologist believed that she suffered from depression, insomnia, and borderline personality disorder. But this argument was eventually disqualified, and to add to this, it was concluded that the statements made by Jade and Ashley could also be admitted into evidence in their trial. The judge ruled that neither was coerced, and they spoke voluntarily with the police. With capital punishment being legal in Pennsylvania, it was technically possible for Jade or Ashley to face the death sentence. If, of course, they were convicted of first-degree murder. But with this being ruled out by the judge, their maximum possible penalty shifted from death to life imprisonment without parole.
We'll take it.
In addition to their charges for first-degree murder, they also faced charges of evidence tampering. After murdering Brandy, they had buried her hat, a blood-soaked sweatshirt, and the rock used to smash her head. The hat had been used to, quote, "pick up meat and brains." On October 31st, 2013, and before her trial, Jade Olmsted pleaded guilty to murdering Brandy Stevens. Jade expressed remorse during her hearing, and stated that she didn't want to put Brandy's family through a trial. Addressing Brandy's family, she said, "I am truly and deeply sorry for what had happened. Brandy didn't deserve any of that." Shortly after Jade, Ashley also pleaded guilty, and, as expected, both women were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yes.
All of their motions to appeal have since been denied. Although justice has been served from a judicial point of view, nothing will ever bring Brandy Rosine Stevens back home.
Nope.
The violent and venomous actions of Jade and Ashley, built upon a foundation of jealousy and greed, have forever debilitated the Rosine Stevens family. In a roundabout kind of way, they have also destroyed their own lives in the process, and I'm sure their own families still struggle to this day. During her funeral, friends remembered that all Brandy wanted to do was be herself in a world without prejudice. She was an inspiration to others. She taught friends and strangers not to fear who they are, but to embrace themselves instead. Following her death, a marble bench was crowdfunded in her name, and this bench can still be found at Youngstown State University. And in May of this year, 2022, which marked 10 years since her death, a candlelight vigil was held in her honor. Those who love and remember Brandy attend this vigil every year, which is held next to her bench. One of Brandy's friends' main worries is that eventually she will be forgotten, but it's clear to see that this is very unlikely to happen. Thanks to her kind heart and mind, she has touched many in the local community. And one of the main things I remember when looking back on this case is a Facebook status she had posted in November of 2009. It is brainless to assume that making changes to your Windows view will give you a new perspective. And I think that captures Brandy's ethos relatively well. She didn't want to patch people up, she wanted to make ground-shaking changes to their lives. She would have been fantastic in her desired field of work, and of course, I hope she's remembered for many decades to come. So I think that pretty much wraps up today's case, folks. There's not
R.I.P. to Brandy, man. R.I.P. to Brandy, bro. And yeah, it looked like she was on the path to like helping people, you know what I'm saying, be able to look at life in a different way and goddamn, look at life in a different way and not worry about what other people think. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay to be different. Ain't nothing wrong if your sexuality different, this and that and that. She seemed like she was on the path to some greatness, bro. And I'm glad that they do the visual every year for her and shit like that, man. I just wish she would have went with her first mind, bro. I wish she would have went with her first mind, man. Just never went to that place. And I'm just gonna keep it real, y'all. Like, I ain't trying to talk bad about Brandy, but I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying, y'all. Would you? Okay, I'm gonna use me as the example. If my ex-girlfriend called me or text me whatever, and be like, yeah, me and my current boyfriend want you to come hang out with us and chill with us. You know what I'm saying? Or go out with us, then come back to the house or whatever. Do this, do that. Chill all day or chill half of the day. Party, whatever, bro. I don't give a fuck if they say they want me to go to the grocery store with them. I would not go, bro. Hell no, something don't sound right like that, about that. Or we can flip it on the head. If I tell my current girlfriend, hey baby, I want you to meet my ex-girlfriend. She coming over, we gonna chill, watch movies and all that shit. Nothing sounds right about that, bro. Nothing sounds right about that, bro. Cause there's love involved, there's emotions involved, and goddamn, at one point you were with this person and now I'm with this person. So it's history there and all that shit, bro. Hell no, bro. I just hate she even went for that, man. Sad story, bro. Sad story. But Coffeehouse Crime, man. Adrian. I remember his name now. Adrian from Coffeehouse Crime. That's my guy. We gonna come back to him real soon. And y'all come back real soon. Please, my people, come back and hit that like button and subscribe to the bing. Come on, man. You know how we do over here. We have fun over here, man, watching these crazy ass stories, bro. Like, I don't know, man. Me personally, I just like watching these type shit because it just help you just realize that anything can happen to anybody, bro. Like, you can be touched. Like, you can be touched at any time, bro. 24/7, bro. Anything can happen to anybody. And it just make me appreciate life more and realize that what I'm going through ain't like what a lot. I'm talking about shit. Can we just say millions at this point? Millions? Couple 100,000 of people that went through. I'm talking about like gruesome deaths and shit. You know what I'm saying, bro? So I'm good. We good, my people. We still breathing. We still living, man. And another reason I like to watch these stories, man, because I like to hear the story of what happened to that person and remember that person for what they was and just celebrate their life, bro, and keep their name alive. I like this shit. And we'll be back to it, my people. Y'all come on back if y'all like watching this shit too. But until then, my friends, the Bing Baby Ledge.